Hello and welcome to another edition of Maritime Gateway's Digital Dialogue. Today we have a guest with us, Captain Satya Srinivas. Captain Satya Srinivas is the CEO of Maxicon Container Lines Private Limited, registered in Singapore. MCL is wholly owned subsidiary of Seaway Shipping and Logistics India. MCL is an intra-Asia NVOCC, non-vessel owning common carrier and container box operator with over 17,000 TEUs operating over 100 locations across 24 countries in Asia. Captain Satya Srinivas has combined experience of sailing and land-based shipping and logistics spanning over 32 years, with 17 years at sea and 15 years in logistics. He was chief mate and master in Valem Ship Management, Hong Kong, on their fleet of ocean-going large crude oil carriers. At Maxicon, he has experience in coordinating liner activity of NVOCC, box operator, commercial operations of coastal feeders in India, cargo handling in break bulk vessels and oil tankers. He always strives for technological advancement in shipping and logistics while keeping ear to the ground. Though technological innovations are the way forward in our industry, he believes in customer engagement and hand-holding because they are still very much essential. Welcome to the show, Captain Satya Srinivas. It's a pleasure to have you with us today.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Prasad, and thank you to Maritime Gateway to give me the opportunity.
So now we are about 9 months in the COVID-19 pandemic. How much of NVOCC business has been affected, and are you coming out of the blues?
Let me first, it's been a traumatic time for everybody, and let me, to start with, say that, our prayers and wishes for all the people who have been affected by this pandemic, directly or indirectly. We have lost a lot of closed ones, near and dear people, and our wishes and prayers with them. Yes. Like I mentioned in our introduction, I'm very fortunate. I'm from a country, I'm residing in a country which has really taken this pandemic headlong, and they have been very prepared. And back in January, they were well aware, while the countries west of us were still figuring out what it is, and they were quite confident that nothing is going to happen with regard to the infection. But here the government knew they are in for a long haul, and then they really prepared well. So that has rubbed off on us. We as business leaders here, we figured it out that what the government and the Prime Minister of Singapore have done is really an outstanding job over the last few months. And we figured that out because the positiveness, the feeling that this is going to really be a tough time for us has rubbed off on us, and we have had contingencies placed as early as in February. So our basic thought was to first protect our staff, and then of course by doing that we'll be able to better engage with the customers. And we were all very well prepared, and we put measures in place which resulted in not having any disruptions at all in our businesses. And as you've also seen, while practically all economic trade has shut down, seaborne trade was continuously operative. I mean, thanks to the ship managers, ship owners, and of course the seafarers. So that has really kept us moving. The first couple of months, we were down to 20%, 30% of our capacity business-wise. But as we moved along, things started picking up because we need much earlier, now earlier than 100 years back, we are dependent on other countries for our consumptions. So it kept us alive. The backlogs have started, the sailings have resumed full-fledged. And now we are much better off than we were in the pre-COVID levels. Probably, I don't know how long this will last. They say it will be there up till February, March, till the Chinese New Year. But yes, the business has recovered since then.
That's good to know. You started somewhere in 2004, and after almost 16 years of into business, now you are the leading NVOCC operator in Southeast Asia. So how was the journey, and what is your USP?
It's been an amazing journey, actually. It's been a vision of our chairman, Captain Mohan, to do something in lines of ship owning or becoming a shipping line. I'm sure he must be quite happy that we have achieved so much. And he was a big driving force for all of us. We started as a very small, picked up about 80, 90 boxes in India, basically to service one of the PSUs to move some cargo from India to Singapore and Malaysia. From there on, it's actually, we grew and developed in phases. Initial 4 to 5 years was a building stage where we had enhanced the equipment. We started increasing our network and coverage. Later on, it was more of procedural corrections. We went into a lot of leadership changes, building a strong core. That's what has helped us today sustain. And as I've mentioned earlier, we are always evolving. Being short sea operators, it's always being ear to the ground and understanding the shipper's needs. So that is where I feel we have achieved a lot of growth. And today we are in almost 24 countries and we service about 100 odd locations all over Asia. We still have in the growing economies, we are planning to build in Indonesia, Malaysia, Vietnam, Thailand. These are the core focus post-COVID for us.
Due to pandemic, a lot of projects have been stalled for the want of either manpower or capital infusion. So you are into project cargo and also some special cargo services. So how is the business in these segments?
It's been slow. I think we do about 10 to 15% of our top line on these type of special businesses. And our most important achievements over the last year or so was we used to do an extensive movement of drill rigs from India to Africa. And also we participated heavily into, you must be aware, the low sulfur and the scrubber retrofits. So we were moving a few scrubbers around. And of course, that's slowed down right now because most of these special projects require physical inspections. And inability to travel has hindered. And secondly, ease of funds, access to funds also, and of course, it's quite a labor-intensive activity. So yes, it's dropped down a little, but thanks to the pickup on the dry cargo segment in the last 3 to 4 months, it's not affected our business that much.
Now, let me talk about the two immediate challenges that our industry is facing. One is a shortage of equipment, the availability of empty containers. And secondly, I understand that there is a tighter credit controls from carriers, cutting down the credit period. So how is both the things are affecting your business? One is credit availability, second is availability of containers.
Availability of containers, we are a short sea player. So for us, it's not been a problem as much as what the main lines are facing. It's more because the main lines are invested heavily. If you see year on year, I believe the growth is on the transpect capacities over 30%. So basically, they have washed out all the equipment in Asia and Europe and put them and or even the vessels in the transpect trade. But we are been always here, and our focus will stay intra-Asia. So we are able to manage our placements much better. What is also happening is there are extensive delays. So what an usual transit time would take about 15 days, now it's become 25 days or 30 days. So that has created an artificial crunch because the equipment is either in transshipment ports or in transit. So our ability to use it has reduced. But we are able to manage because we can always reposition, place them where we want. So we are not facing any inconveniences as far as equipment is concerned. With regard to credit, let me say shipping has been very liberal over the years. I mean, not getting paid for 3 months to 6 months has been the norm. Well, if we want to continue doing and perform more efficiently, the money has to return back to the system. So as much as the carriers require funding to run the ships, we require to pay carriers in time. So if we have to perform our duties with regard to the carriers, we expect our forwarders and shippers also to pay. But it doesn't mean we are anyway imposing on them. A lot of our shippers, we have been doing business for over the last 10 years, and they're quite understanding. We are quite aware of concerns. So, like I said, we are being ear to the ground, hand holding. We are more open and closer to the trade. So, I mean, I don't see any of our shippers or forwarders complaining in such way.
Coming to intra-Asia, though it is the intra-Asian region is very opportunity oriented, but still we see the connectivity has not improved to great extent. So what are your suggestions as a major operator in this region?
It's been an imbalance. I wouldn't say connectivity was ever an issue. In fact, if you see the pre-COVID times, the rates from India were as bad as $50, $20 to Portland or Singapore. Since improved because, of course, the demand is increased. But we've always had providers helping us to connect. At any given day, we can load from the west coast of Indian ports. The east coast is a little on a slower trajectory because of withdrawals. If you have seen, the main lines have deployed a lot of the capacity by removing from these regions into Transpac. But that will come down, I think, post-Chinese New Year, it should improve. The other basic problem what everybody is facing today is each port is on an average about 4 to 5 days congestion is there. So if a service has 5 ports in its rotations coming in from China to India, which would have normally taken for a round trip about 25 to 30 days, is now gone to 30 plus 30, 35, 40 days. So that's delaying the connections. So it's a very temporary phenomenon, which would probably improve.
Let's talk about coastal shipping. You are also one coastal shipping operator. What is your perspective of coastal shipping future, especially when you talk about Indian coast? And have you seen the recent coastal shipping bill? Do you have any recommendations or suggestions to improve coastal shipping?
With regard to coastal shipping, we have exited the business about 7 years back. As part of the group business vertical, we used to have a coastal shipping running. But yes, I'm very familiar and up to date with the aspects. It's grown tremendously from about 6,000 TEUs a month on the coast. Now I believe they do almost 30,000 TEUs. The government of India and shipping ministry are doing a great job in enhancing. They have implemented a lot of new measures to connect the inland waterways, or even recognizing Bangladesh to India trade as a coastal trade. Their pioneers like Shreyas have a very big network now, and it's a good thing. I mean, it eases the land burden a lot. That's why I believe quite a bit of commodity was moving in India when the truckers and transporters were unable to attend work. So the coastal shipping was indeed a wanted relief, and I'm confident it will grow much. The new policies, the new guidelines look very impressive, and it will enable the Indian ship owners to participate better. And of course, the coastal bill you're mentioning is the earlier Merchant Shipping Act. Of course, that was in 1958, and it's finally they've got around to, after a lot of work. It's been amended many times in between, but coming out with a new structured bill is very welcome. I'm sure a lot of people in the trade will get involved into giving a lot of thoughtful ideas to implement this. But my view of this is I think with two different hats when I think of the bill. One is as an ex-seafarer. My concern is we are seeing off late very much in news. It's always been there. crew abandonment has become a major issue. India being the oldest maritime country, Indian seafarers are quite heavily involved in the international trade. We are one of the leading countries providing seafarers to the international maritime community. They need to be looked after well. If you all see all the industries which functioned during the COVID time, it was the seafarers who were involved 24/7, 365 days. And they were suffering because of two issues. One is their own personal health because of COVID. And more importantly, they are always worried about what's happening to their families. And they are unable to get off ships. I mean, very happy to see the seafarers community in India has really come out helping them. Luminaries like Mr. Abdul Ghani Sarang, Captain Sanjay Parashar, the Minister of Shipping. These people have really gone about regularizing the movement. That's one area I would see the seafarers community being helped. And I hope the stakeholders will put more trust in that. That would be one of my major suggestions. And business-wise, of course, I've been reading recently, and you had also put up an article recently about freight and the bill of lading. So that's a little sensitive issue because it would be ideal if all the stakeholders, the trade bodies like MANSA, CSLA, the Forwarders Association, the Shippers Association, FICCI, these are the people who should put their heads down, maybe look at something. There's also a mention of, looking at national maritime policy and to come out with something in lines of an FMC, the Federal Maritime Commission, something which we can evolve over the years. But it shouldn't be a very knee-jerk reaction. It should be thought process, because if we put too much regulation into activity, we'll end up into courts. We'll end up into legal mess. So we are a country of free trade. So we have to respect the contracts. Of course, transparency is very much required. We have to respect the contracts between the shipper or the ship owner, the buyer and the seller. So those are the ones. And if you actually look at a bill of lading, it's already flooded with amazing amount of data. And if you keep adding more legal terms in it, it only gets more messy and goes back into disputes. And of course, innovation is coming. When some companies have already started the blockchain mode of transacting, that will definitely eliminate a lot of these concerns.
You are sitting at a place, one of the largest transshipment hub. What is the sense that you are getting? When would be the business as usual?
I don't think it would be optimistic, very optimistic to see an improvement before Chinese New Year. Traditionally, the Chinese give a break of 2 weeks in production and dispatches. So if that happens this year as well, the coming year as well in February, we might see some relief because some carriers might actually skip calling Chinese ports or clear their old backlogs. But at the moment, from what I hear in Malaysia and Singapore and Colombo, they're very badly affected. Singapore to the least, but all of them are facing about 3 to 4, 5 days of delay. And Colombo is affected by COVID in particular terminals. There are issues as well as manpower is concerned. So to get back to normalcy, I don't see anything which is showing up in the radar saying that, let's say, by March or April, there might be a recovery after March, but it won't be just fall off the cliff. It'll suddenly get better. So I feel we are in for a little bit of time.
Captain, what are your plans, future plans for Maxicon?
Well, sir, we are into, like I said, the growing economies are where we have a foothold. We've been a core Malaysia, India, Singapore, Bangladesh type of business activity. We have about 20% odd business in these other sectors. We would like to actively involve in trades in Southeast Asian countries like Malaysia, Singapore, Vietnam, Thailand. We want to focus more into other activities like building on our project cargo division. So we see that it's not just, and technologically we want to go into the big league, be more equipped. We want to service the customer who doesn't have a laptop to a customer who can do a payment by any methodology. So we want to be available at the both ends of the spectrum of the trade.
On that note, Captain Satya Srinivas, thank you very much for joining with us today and sharing a lot of insights into NVOCC business, Maxicon future plans, and business across India, Asia trade lanes. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thanks to Maritime Gateway and Mr. Prasad. Thanks for having me. It's been a very honor. It's been my pleasure.